The federal allegations are alarming because of Betancur's background, and it turns out he was given permission by a Maryland probation supervisor to go into the district on the 6th, despite his known ties to white supremacy and threats of violence. According to an affidavit signed by an FBI agent, this is a photo of Betancur holding a Confederate flag on scaffolding over the Capitol. Here he is flashing the white power symbol on Instagram, where he used identities like Bryan Patriot 1776 and aliases Bryan Clooney and Maximo Clooney, according to the FBI. The FBI's affidavit included screen grabs of Betancur's Maryland probation ankle bracelet tracking, a map clearly showing that the bracelet was inside the breach secure zone at the Capitol at the time of the insurrection. Betancur was being monitored and tracked after violations of his probation in Maryland for a burglary conviction. A federal investigator said Betancur actually had permission to be in D.C. December 6 after telling a Maryland probation supervisor he would be distributing Bibles. According to the FBI affidavit, Betancur is a self-professed white supremacist who has voiced homicidal ideations and has made comments about conducting a school shooting. Also made increased verbalizations about his desire to be a lone wolf killer. The FBI affidavit said after the Capitol insurrection, Betancur called a Maryland probation agent and said he had been tear-gassed at the Capitol. That agent contacted the FBI, according to court records. Scott Broom, WUSA 9.